New reports, 5 pilots coming forward over the weekend saying they've had multiple mid-air encounters with high-flying, fast-moving objects.
The New York Times speaking with 5 Navy pilots who've all said they've encountered UFOs during training missions up and down the East Coast.
Now our next guest is sounding off in a brand new series on History Channel called Unidentified: Inside America's UFO Investigation. Christopher, do you believe the UFOs exist?
We know that UFOs exist. This is not no longer an issue. The Navy itself has publicly acknowledged the fact that they exist, and Navy pilots, active duty pilots, have gone on the record in the New York Times acknowledging the fact that they exist. So the issue now is, why are they here? Where are they coming from? And what is the technology behind these devices that we're observing? Ultimately, Lou concluded, and I concluded, that the only way to make progress on this issue was from the outside, to take the information to the public and the Congress. That's what this show is about, and that's what these military pilots are helping us with.
Just catching up on the news right now. It seems that this story that the New York Times wrote day before yesterday has it's gone a bit viral. So I guess I'm looking right now at the Hill, the front page of the defense section. U.S. Navy pilots detail sightings of unidentified flying objects. There's another one, Washington Post. UFOs exist and everyone needs to adjust to that fact. Hey, To the Stars Academy is right on the front. Pretty cool. There are new articles, plural, every day.
And there's a fair amount of evidence now that clearly UFOs exist, and the fact that Navy pilots are willing to go on record to say that is encouraging, because for the longest time, if you said the word UFO or if you said you believed in UFOs, then it meant you were sort of relegated to sort of conspiracy theorizing or sort of a crackpot, and it was very easy for the establishment to sort of not take you seriously anymore. You want them to actually be willing to come forward and say these things without the stigma that is historically been associated with the acronym UFO.
So the question for a lot of people is, do we know what they were? What were those unidentified flying objects? Or at least, what are the suspicions of the Navy about what they were?
I think the important point is we need to recognize we don't know at this point, and therefore we need to investigate further.
Can you imagine that headline just a year and a half ago?
Yeah, I know. It's incredible.
UFOs exist and everyone needs to adjust.
He quotes a paper in there.
Yeah, I saw it down here. Yeah.
Yes, and I know one of the co-authors.
Sovereignty and the UFO.
Right, so that was co-authored by a fellow that served with me on the board of UFO Data. You know, once again, it's hard for the mainstream to engage on this issue. I noticed, you know, in my Hill article, I briefly looked at the comments, and even though I was very careful to mention the extraterrestrial hypothesis is sort of a tertiary possibility, not
that's what people
the first. That's all anybody wanted to comment and talk about. It was all aliens.
So is it fair to boil it down to 2 possibilities? Either another country has leapfrogged the United States in technology, or extraterrestrial?
Those are the leading hypotheses, yes.
And what do you think?
I don't have a conclusion at this point. We're trying not to jump and leap to conclusions. We think that's actually an impediment to progress. Because once you start talking about aliens, a lot of people just shut down. Right, so what we need is more information.
But how do you explain that there have been so many of these sightings and nothing has happened?
It is in part a social phenomenon. There's a stigma. It's been difficult to get people in the bureaucracy, in the military, and the intelligence community to understand they can deal with this without being penalized. Nobody's been assigned responsibility for collecting on this. So our different agencies and departments are not sharing information on this topic heretofore, not pulling it together. So the picture hasn't come into focus, and it's taken the pilots themselves speaking out publicly to really get this on everybody's agenda.
Well, I think it's also part of our psyche culturally that we automatically assume, again, that these things are of extraterrestrial origin. And the problem is when you do that, we potentially leave a lot of other data out, right?
Right, and we also make it far more difficult to build a consensus for action. because that is such a reach for so many people, turns them off so badly at the outset that you just lose them right away.
Take that reaction and multiply it by 100, and that was what we were facing in the Pentagon. I mean, you remember that. I was
Some
literally
people were just shut down.
Literally just shut down after an hour briefing.
I've been in touch with both those guys in the last 24 hours that you briefed, the two individuals who are direct reports to Mattis.
Wow.
Who I don't want to.
How are they doing?
They're doing great, and they're supportive.
That's fantastic.
And it is fantastic. And
That's hugely
They're both
fantastic.
in the private sector now.
Okay.
But still, very engaged in the issue, and is still, I think, in touch with Mattis.
Well, maybe there'll be an opportunity sometime in the future to sit down with him and get his thoughts. And
He and several others that I can name that may have been involved with or touched parts of this phenomenon that we haven't addressed yet as well.
Alrighty, welcome to A&E.
yeah, been here before.
Yeah, right? Plenty of times, I'm sure.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
What's going on, stranger?
I don't think I've ever seen you work. You're so strong.
We really capture history on a show that's on the History Channel. I really feel like the History Channel is making history.
Seriously. Yeah. Thank you. Fortunately, all the makeup in the world is not going to make me look any better.
That's not powder, that's mud. Military officials sounding the alarms about UFOs.
Now they're telling their stories in history's new docuseries, Unidentified, Inside America's UFO Investigation.
This is not just a show to entertain. This is a mechanism to change the way the government acts. You're going to see us dealing with the Senate, us meeting with the intelligence services of other governments, and everyone is coming out of the woodwork and saying, this is real, we got to do something about it, and it very well could be a threat, but we can't put our head in the sand.
It's cool to talk to you. My first guitar was a Tom DeLonge Thunder Squire.
Very nice.
We have guided Congress with getting all the data, all the briefings, and all the people in various parts of the government to brief the senators and congressmen. We did all that. It actually leaked a handful of weeks ago when you saw these articles in the New York Times and whatever, where it said the Navy is creating formal mechanisms for reporting UFOs. That was us. That was To the Stars Academy. That was our show. It's on the show. It's really just following around what we do at To the Stars Academy. We deal with the U.S. government every single day. And so we were organizing all of this, and we just kind of followed it around with a camera.
The U.S. Navy is preparing new guidelines for pilots on how to report sightings of UFOs.
I know personally and directly, senators they're falling out of their seats that this is real. They had no idea. And so now they're moving. And the show will keep their constituents energized, which will keep the pressure on them.
Tucker's gonna
So you can do his makeup in here?
Nobody wants to see that on TV.
And the government is now being systematic in investigating the question of UFOs. A new History Channel documentary called Unidentified will explore the military's many recent encounters with unidentified aircraft. Do you believe, based on your decade of serving in the U.S. government on this question, that the U.S. government has in its possession any material from one of these aircrafts?
Ooh, I do, yes.
All right. Well, we have a lot more to find out, and I'm very glad that you came on our show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
What was the question?
Does the U.S. government have material?
And what was your answer?
Yes.
We're not the only country who's having these encounters.
Absolutely not. And in fact, as our investigation unfolds over the first 6 episodes this season, we're going to be presenting information from a NATO ally that's been having very similar experiences.
I think it will take congressional hearings to get to the bottom of all this, not just in the United States, but all around the world. And I'd like to see those congressional hearings.
It's a pretty profound experience. Something that transcends your personality and character, something that goes deep to the core of the human spirit. Maybe this is the beginning of the end.
of this mystery, or maybe this is the end of the beginning.